G'day legends, unless you have been living under a rock or just not involved in the MMA world at all over the weekend, and with how good UFC Noche was, why wouldn't you be? But it has come out that Michael Chandler has officially given up chasing the dream of fighting Conor McGregor. So in this video, we are going to be talking about the only way that I see Conor McGregor coming back to the UFC. And what that means is you are going to be watching one of the upcoming title fights through a very, very different lens. So that is what today's video is about. So this is all obviously coming off the back of the news, right? We all heard it over the weekend. Michael Chandler's done. He's done chasing his dreams. And finally, good on him. He's now going to be fighting Charles Oliveira in his next fight, putting himself in line for I guess it's a number one contenders fight, right? And he could have done that 2 years ago. He could have done that 2 years ago, which in a division like lightweight, would have been a massive advantage for him to be 2 years younger. But hey, it's Michael Chandler's choice. He might go down as the dumbest fighter in UFC history. Not just his style of fighting and his decisions that he makes inside of a fight, but also the decisions that he's made outside of the cage. And whatever, it's all good. He's a grown man. He can make whatever decisions he wants. And if you're going to be a ball of muscle, you might as well be an entertaining ball of muscle like Michael Chandler is. However, as for Conor McGregor, that leaves Conor McGregor alone, and I guess promoting BKFC and promoting his alcohol brand and partying with midgets out at motocross rallies. God knows what Conor McGregor is up to. But fighting in the UFC is certainly not next on Conor McGregor's list. The problem is, for Conor McGregor to come back to the UFC, he wants to get paid big money. And I'm not sure the UFC want to pay him big money. The issue when it comes to Conor McGregor versus the UFC is the contract negotiations, right? They do not want to sign him unless they can get him for a big 7-fight deal. They want to keep him on the roster as they go into negotiations for the end of their ESPN deal. So they're going to be renegotiating with ESPN. They're going to be negotiating with Amazon and with Netflix. I mean, Jeff Bezos of Amazon was sitting at the front row of Noche UFC. We all know that Mark Zuckerberg from Facebook has been in talks with Dana White. You might not know why. It is because they are talking about doing a VR deal on Meta. There's a lot of negotiations going on right now. Conor's got 2 fights left on his contract. The UFC have got till the end of the year to start negotiations with another TV deal. Conor McGregor's name is worth a lot of money to the UFC. Maybe him not fighting is actually worth that much to the UFC. But there is a lot of moving parts here that are slowing Conor McGregor down. So the only way to really fix all of this is to get a belt wrapped around Conor McGregor's waist. But that is a very, very hard thing to do. Conor McGregor is nowhere near a lightweight title, having lost to Dustin Poirier 2 times now, and with Team Dagestan holding the belt. And Team Dagestan hate Conor McGregor so much, they refuse to say his name. I honestly do not believe that Islam Makhachev would take Conor McGregor seriously as a contender at all, or even want to sign that fight. Even though the team do hate him, I don't think they even like him enough to reward him to even give him a shot at the title. To them, they think they have already beaten, it's not think, they have already beaten the living piss out of Conor McGregor, turned him into an alcoholic, sent him packing on his way out of the sport. Why would they bother entertaining that fight again? So for Conor McGregor to re-enter the UFC lightweight division and get a legitimate undisputed title shot is very, very, very hard to do. And that is essentially what the UFC need to do to make it any way feasible, cash money-wise, to have Conor McGregor there. But having said that, there is someone who does hold a current UFC title, and Conor McGregor has already got a win over them and could be available to fight Conor McGregor, and that is your boy, Max Blessed Holloway. A Max Holloway versus Conor McGregor BMF title fight ticks all the boxes. Max Holloway versus Conor McGregor BMF title ticks all the boxes that the UFC are looking for. It really does, right? It is the exact answer that the UFC needs, that they can somehow lock Conor McGregor down to a maybe 7-fight deal or 4-fight deal where the UFC is going to be giving him pay-per-view points. And maybe they give him a very hefty amount of pay-per-view points to counteract the negotiations that Conor has, where he can give himself as many pay-per-view points as he wants when it comes to fighting for the BKFC. You see, when they go into the negotiation room, usually a fighter has no leverage, but Conor has the promotional marketing of his own fighting organization behind him now. And the only thing that the UFC can really leverage against that is the fact that the UFC can sell more pay-per-views than BKFC can. So they can give him pay-per-view points. But how do you give him pay-per-view points if he's not going in there and fighting for a belt? The problem is, for Conor McGregor versus Max Holloway BMF title fight to actually happen, that means Max Holloway needs to be available to fight probably at 170, which is where I think Conor McGregor would want to fight next, or at the very least 155, which does mean that for Max, switching from 145 to 170 or 155 is going to be very, very hard to do, almost impossible, which does mean that for this to work, Max Holloway will need to lose to Ilia Topuria. And that is a tough fan to swallow for any fans who might be a fan of Conor McGregor. I don't know why, but you might still be a fan of Conor McGregor and a fan of Max Holloway at the same time. However, I do think that Max Holloway is going to lose to Ilia Topuria. I think that Max Holloway versus Ilia Topuria is going to be very impressive for Max in the first, maybe the second round, but Ilia Topuria's tight, short-range boxing is going to be able to get on the inside of Max Holloway, and his age and strength is going to slowly take that fight away from Max Holloway. A lot of people think that Ilia Topuria is going to knock Max Holloway out. I don't think that he will. I think Max's chin will prevail, but I do think that over the course of 25 minutes, Ilia Topuria is going to do more damage on Max Holloway. And for anyone who can't see that, Max has been beaten up before. Obviously, he was beaten up very badly by Alexander Volkanovski. But again, TKZ was landing on him. And also, Kelvin Kattar was landing on him at times during that fight. And I do think that Ilia Topuria is a better boxer than all three of those fighters. I will point out, though, for viewers of this channel, we are experiencing this together, viewers of this channel. You may have noticed that even though my picks for cards are coming in at about 60%, 65%, my main event picks are essentially a kiss of death. So that does mean I am officially picking Ilia Topuria to win that fight. So Max is as good as won this. Either way, I do think Max Holloway is going to lose the fight against Ilia Topuria, which does mean he is going in there against, I would assume that he would be going in there against Conor McGregor next with a fast turnaround. I think the UFC would want to get Max Holloway turned around quickly. I'm talking that Aljamain Sterling versus Sean O'Malley turnaround. Real quick turnaround. Get a Conor McGregor pay-per-view done, get a deal signed, get it moving, while Max Holloway is still fairly beaten up and injured from that Ilia Topuria fight. Get him back in the cage within 5 to 6 weeks against a fresh Conor McGregor and try and get Conor McGregor a win and try and get him that BMF belt. Even then, I still do not think that Conor McGregor has got the skill, the speed that is needed to beat Max Holloway in 2024, 2025. I think there is just too much ring rust, too much alcohol, too much cocaine, been out of the game for too long. He's not in MMA anymore. His mind is solely set on boxing. He knows that he wants to do BKFC, which means Max Holloway's MMA striking is going to be just too fluid. And what I mean by MMA striking, I mean the punches and the kicks just come from different levels, because obviously in MMA, you're worried about the takedowns, you're worried about the leg kicks, and in boxing, everything's tighter. Everything's up here. Which is why when MMA strikers transition over to boxing, the boxers can do so much better because they only have to focus on a couple of skills, and MMA strikers are used to so much coming at them. This is now a completely different conversation about striking. What I'm saying is, I do believe that even on short notice, Max Holloway can beat Conor McGregor because Conor McGregor is half out of the game. So there we go. If you are a Conor McGregor fan, let me know why down there in the comments. Why do you still want to see Conor McGregor fight in the UFC? Please, I sincerely want to know how you're still a Conor McGregor fan in 2025. But if you are, I do think that is the only way that we can rectify the problems that the UFC is having with signing Conor McGregor. And that is, how do you give him enough pay-per-view points for him to not care about the BKFC and put a belt around him at the same time? That's the only way I can see it working. Let me know down there, what do you think about that? Do you see another way that Conor McGregor can come back to the UFC? If this is your first time here, consider subscribing to the channel. I try and make an MMA video every single day of the work week. We go live at least 3 times a week where we do tier lists and we do the MMA debates and we discuss the pound for pound list and the GOAT list. It's a bloody good time. And if you never like the content in the future, you can always go ahead and unsubscribe. If you're already part of the channel and you absolutely bloody love it or you just want to help me out, mate, leave a comment, leave a like, and until then, I will see you all in the next video.